Back when I was a graduate student at Cambridge University, I had the opportunity to attend a public lecture by Stephen Hawking. Now, I'm not a physicist, and I was studying in a completely different department at the time. But hey, it was Stephen Hawking. So of course I registered to see one of the rock stars of the scientific world. When the day came, I settled into my seat in a packed auditorium and I got comfortable. I certainly wasn't expecting to understand everything I was about to hear, but it was fun to be there. What I did not anticipate was the manner in which Hawking delivered his speeches. A specially designed computer that converted his text into a voice projection also delivered the speech in brief sound bites of just 2 or 3 sentences at a time. So when the lecture began, Hawking entered the stage. He first off made a joke about his new American accent thanks to the speech synthesizer, and then he began his lecture one small soundbite at a time. Now, something very unexpected happened from that point on. I actually followed what he was talking about, and it happened like this. Hawking would deliver a sentence or two, and then there would be a pause, just like this one. During that pause, what he had said had the opportunity to sink in. Then there would be another short statement and again a pause. Again, during that pause, the next statement would sink in. You see, because Stephen Hawking could not deliver his lecture at the rate that he might have otherwise chosen for himself, it was relatively easy for someone who was completely new to cosmology to process what he was saying and to understand it. In fact, it turns out that this drip-by-drip methodology that Hawking was using really by coincidence is a major component of an approach to the development of highly complex skills and knowledge that many companies today recognize using the term microlearning. In essence, microlearning is an approach in which complex ideas or complex skills are broken into small component pieces so that learning participants engage in just one bite-sized block at a time. Often these small pieces of content are also readily available for users so that an individual can move from lesson to lesson at his or her own pace. Finally, the pieces are not simply sequential. They overlap in different directions, with the focus of a micro lesson looping from today's content, perhaps forward a little to the next lesson and back to previous ones, so that content is repeated in different contexts. Now, some of the widely used examples of microlearning with which you might be familiar include the language learning app Duolingo, which today has over 300 million users, and the healthy lifestyle app Noom. Both of these apps offer users the opportunity to develop major aspects of their knowledge and behavior through a commitment of roughly more or less 10 minutes per day. Now, in terms of benefit as a learning pedagogy, well, just like climbing a huge cliff or running a marathon, it's much easier to make progress if you can break that effort into small stages that people can take at their own pace. Also, microlearning actually reduces the barrier to participation. See, if learning something is going to mean taking 2 days out of my week or a week out of my month, I'm going to tend to put it off until I'm ready. But if it's just 10 minutes a day, well, hey, I can do that now. Finally, this microlearning approach is a really great match with the concept of deliberate practice, which has also been introduced as a technique for developing expertise in another video on this channel. So what are the homework steps from this video episode? Well, there are 2 action steps for this week. The first of them is if there's something that you've been putting off learning because it's a complex idea or a complex skill, and it feels like you'd have to take too much time or put in too much effort, ask yourself, is there some small step that you could take? What would be the very first step in starting to understand this concept or starting to develop this new skill? Is there a small piece that you can take on board and maybe commit to achieving this week? The second action step related to microlearning is to subscribe to this channel for more videos, because microlearning is actually exactly what we're doing here. And that's it for this week. I'll see you again in the next video.